is going to be put in place, what Jeff's plans are, what she's been able to receive. We've already gotten some things. So I think the price tag is too high. I think we can put in a similar program for a much more economical scale, but I prefer the council be a little bit more involved when it's a lower threshold from a cost perspective. So the answer is yes to the initiative, no to the cost tag. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Did I make that more
what do you
confusing for you?
The price tag?
Well, I really have no idea. I have no idea. The thing that we got in this one, with studies and things, it's a little bit, I didn't understand in the least, much to Larry's point, what 35,000 got. What we paid 35,000 to, are we paying 25,000 to a licensing company to call the Youth Leadership Council? Are we paying for a state to implement? Or if we have initiatives that we want to involve youth with in the community, we should be able to host those events with staff time and with simple open house features that could be done pennies on the dollar compared to $35,000, from my perspective. But that's because we really have had a title, what it is, but not really what we're buying for that money. So this is one where I like the idea of it, but the cost, I just couldn't wrap my mind around.
I will say that Jeff's the one that's been helping drive that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Jeff's not here this evening, and, you know, but if you're saying yes to the idea but no to the cost, then that's no for budget discussion.
Yes.
Actually,
Correct.
and, because of the cost, I'll say yes only because I think there's value to it, and
Okay.
it is one of those cases where it can come in as quite a bit less expensive, but if we
It
say
can.
to it tonight, it's going to be removed and taken off the
But
table.
you're saying yes to the STEM projects, science, technology, engineering, math. I mean, you're saying yes to the cans.
Well,
I like the
and
initiative. I mean, I like the
leadership,
Youth Leadership Council and some of the things they talked about. The robotics, those have been incredibly popular programs and huge benefits to the cities that have been able to put those things in place.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I know that was a big piece of the cost with that, from
And
what
that's
Jeff sent us.
an expensive component of it,
Absolutely.
just because of what it takes to get the products to be able to run it. You can certainly
I
run
agree, yeah.
run a youth leadership academy or a youth leadership council without that component.
And I wonder if that, and that was the part I wish we maybe would have spent more time talking about, and I don't want to, Chris, if we want to get to the vote,
Okay.
you feel free to cut me off, but the Youth Leadership Council as a whole, you know, youth-based initiatives become leaders in the community is the way I understood it. The robotics could be part of the Parks and Recs as a separate initiative and separate line item that might be, you know, it might be user fee supported, it might be something like that, or there might be grants. You know, we've talked about having someone that applies for grants in a more aggressive manner. So we might be able to support that in a different way without it just being $35,000 line item on the general fund.
Okay.
So I couldn't have made that any more convoluted. I apologize for it, but
Actually, I think you pulled it together at the end. Tori?
Gosh, I agree with Heath, so I don't know if I'm supposed to say yes or no. I like the idea, but $35,000 is really high. I think we could do a lot of it internally. I think we could have, you know, I'm gonna say no, I guess.
Okay.
Because if we're counting for the money right now, right? Is that what
Yeah,
we're doing?
that's what we're.
But can we still do it internally if I say no, or?
Not as it's currently proposed.
Okay.
Well, no.
We could not do it as it's currently proposed, because as it's currently proposed, it includes a STEM component. And I will tell you that we have a great resource internally to be able to kind of assist us with leading that. Brian, I mean, that's a very hard, a core piece of engineering.
Sure.
He's worked with that in developing teams in a couple of cities in the area. And so we got those cost estimates of what it would take to be able to get the equipment from him, having the experience of developing that component. But it's very hard to get that component.
If you want to speak frankly, I think this is actually a perfect opportunity for a merger of the teams between USB 231 and the city. So
And
there's
we-
out and shared funds, because they're going to have shared facilities. We really don't have a place to host a robotics event if we ever want to get to that place. So
True.
that's probably where the discussion needs to be more, engage them and say, this is the program that we want to have in place. Could we share cost on this, because it's going to benefit both sides.
Yeah.
Well,
Steve?
can I ask a question? How many people is this intended to help?
Well, we
And
would
what-
open this program up like we would our Parks and Rec program. I can't tell you how many people we would draw, but we open up soccer, we open flag football, we open
I would
t-ball,
imagine
we open it up to the residents.
I would imagine that members of the governing body might want to help recruit people. I'm
Okay,
not
but-
talking about their own kids or
but
anything, but
what I don't
might
get-
recruit people that might want to be involved in it, and I think that an inexpensive outreach effort would probably yield some results.
Okay.
I was actually
I know, but I'd like to make a
Yes.
comment.
Well,
because
actually,
it might influence how the other
excuse
people.
me.
I mean,
You know, I'm sorry, if you'll let me run my meeting, the question's coming to Steve.
Well, Steve, could you
Steve?
ask for my opinion before
Hey,
you?
But I think I know who this was designed to help. That's, I mean, in conversations I've had with Cheryl, and I think this is very near and dear to her, and to me too, because I've got children, teenagers in the community that I think would benefit from a program such as this. The question is not whether or not we think we'd like to have STEM. I think that would be, it's wonderful, and it's a great, would be nice. The cost is too high. It's not as well defined as I'd like it to be, and for those reasons, I have to say no.
Okay. Christina?
Yes.
Larry, you have questions?
Has the decision been made, or where are we at?
No, we're at 2-2, you've got the
Well,
deciding vote.
okay, so I guess what I'm trying to understand is, this project came back from discussions with the faith community, is that right?
One of the conversations we have with the faith community is the lack of programs or activities for our youth, not having enough programs, having youth involved in undesirable activities, and they've agreed to assist with partnering in terms of opening up facilities. As Councilman Freeman mentioned, we would need some partnership and assistance to be able to host and do some of the components.
Okay, my concern is, I think Steve's kids are going to be in that program, and none of the kids that you want to help, or that, I mean, because as you and I have discussed, a lot of these comments from the church leaders are that we have, drugs in middle schools.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, robotics, even as cool as that sounds, is still work. Drugs is, much easier. And I don't see how this is going to solve that problem. I mean, if a person is not happy with their life, I see a very small portion of people coming to this. And I think this is truly a USD 231 program that should be already in place. I mean, most districts have this as a feature of, a curriculum that kids can concentrate in. So that's where this needs to be. Mayor, you need to bring USD 231 into this discussion.
We
Be
actually,
a leader on this issue and say,
and-
this is your project. It's been talked about amongst the faith community, amongst the church leaders, but this is something that really fits in your regimen and your curriculum more than it is a city expenditure. Now, having said that, I do believe that the city can address what the church leaders have said, and I think a certain amount of money is needed to come up, and I would like what he said, and that is, I'd like more council discussion, and I'd like to see some creative ideas from the church leaders as to what we really need to do to get kids from experimenting with drugs, how bad, what can we do to their home life to improve it so that they don't see that. Maybe it's mentoring with the parents, maybe it's having, open house and a parenting session. I mean, there's a million ideas out there that we can spend $35,000 on, but I really think we need to go back to the drawing board on this one and just, and get better ideas. So I guess for as far as if I have a yes or no answer, then I would say no.
all right, so that's, no on Youth Leadership Council.
Now, understand, Chris, I don't mean to interrupt, but that doesn't mean that we aren't in favor of the principle behind this.
Right.
I think what we need to do is we need to have a reevaluation. We need to engage USD 231, and we need to come up with a plan that will work for the best for our community, for the kids in our community, for the least cost.
I wasn't casting aspersions, I was just, I'm trying to work through this orderly, and honestly, we've gotten through promote economic development and improve quality of life. It is 9:20. Heath already took a step off the dais. I'd really kind of like to suggest maybe a 10-minute recess, but that would require a motion and a second.
I'd move for a 5-minute recess.
No second.
Second.
Motion, shoot, second. Roberts, that we take a 5-minute recess. In favor?
Aye.
Thanks. We'll stand in recess for 5 minutes.